The next phase is the easiest one to talk about, but it's the most difficult one to do. It takes a lot of practice for the pilot to get it right, and it's called the flare. Now what the pilot's got to do is get himself set up on approach. He's got the landing gear down and the wings set up, and he's got a steady sink rate. And remember, at about 50 feet above the ground, you start the flare. You pull back on the stick and increase the angle of attack, and that creates extra lift on the wing, and it stops the sink rate, and so you level off about a foot above the ground. And then you just gradually sink that last foot. Can you handle that, Mark?
You bet.
All right, Mark, why don't you go show us how it's done in a real airplane?
Okay.
Cool. To demonstrate the flare, our buddy Mark Hussey is going to climb inside our Beechcraft Duchess and show you from the cockpit what it looks like to land an airplane and do the flare.
Okay, here we are at 80 miles an hour on a 3-degree glide slope coming into land. You can see what that normal picture looks like. In order to get slowed down and get touchdown, I have to bring the throttles back a little bit at a time. But in order to make up for that excess, or that decrease in thrust rather, I have to bring the nose up a little bit each time. So I bring the throttles back and the nose up. And about the time I got the throttles to idle, I keep the yoke coming back. We touch down.
So Mark, explain to me just how you did that last little piece, that touchdown flare bit.
Well, as you start to bring the nose up, you bring the throttles back to idle at the same time and decrease the thrust.
You kill the thrust at 0 thrust.
So as you decrease the thrust, the drag really hasn't decreased yet, so it causes the aircraft to decelerate.
That's Newton's second law, F equals ma.
And as you decelerate, you lose the lift on the wings, and you stall it out a couple inches above the ground and just touch down.
Sounds easy.
Piece of cake, huh?
It's practice. The tricky part to all of this is the timing. The pilot has to judge just when and how much to pull the wheel and the throttle. Depending on the plane's size and speed and handling characteristic, each has its own method. If the pilot pulls too aggressively, then the plane might balloon up back into the air. But if he doesn't pull enough during the flare, then he won't stop the sink rate and might slam into the ground too hard. If you level off just above the runway, then you'll be flying along it, passing them by until you touch down. Now this is okay for most kinds of flying because the runways are nice and long. But suppose you don't have a lot of runway. Suppose you want to land on an aircraft carrier. Now there's just no room to flare when the runway's that short. What they do is drive the airplane straight onto the ship with a pretty high sink rate. They completely eliminate the flare. And doing that gives them pinpoint landing capability. But every landing is one of those hard, controlled crashes, as they say. Now, all carrier-capable aircraft are built with a super strong structure and landing gear so they can slam into the deck without being destroyed. Of course, they do have their limits on just how much sink rate they can handle.